Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read you a Washington Examiner article, and then I'm going to explain why the Durham probe special counsel not only is a special counsel in terms of the mandate. I mean, it is a special counsel just like Mueller, but its mandate is broad and as really ambiguous and vague as Mueller's was. There's an article in the description. How do you deal with a problem like Durham? From Lawfare. And Democrats, media, everyone involved in Trump Russia understands that the smoke hasn't cleared. There's still an ongoing investigation because they set up and framed Trump. This isn't rocket science. Facebook ads didn't swing 2016. The Steele dossier was completely baseless. Comey's memos were completely baseless. The problem is, when they utilize baseless allegations against Trump, those absurd, nonsensical, irrational, tinfoil hat fantasies need to be investigated. No stone can be left unturned when they make allegations against Trump. Now, really quickly, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you the full context of all of this. And I've been talking about this for years. They're calling Trump a sociopath. Nothing could be further from the truth. You cannot be a sociopath and preside over peace, the Abraham Accords. It's impossible. You can't be a sociopath and allocate more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever and make that funding permanent. You can't exhibit those traits and also sign an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. You can't preside over economic deals between Serbia and Kosovo. You can't achieve great things, which is what President Trump has achieved. A person with a personality disorder manifesting itself in extreme antisocial attitudes and behavior and a lack of conscience. Now, the people who set up and framed Trump fit this profile. Yet they're very good in terms of public relations, but I don't think you'd want to cross them. I think that Comey knew very well why he was covering up Clinton, the criminal acts committed during the email probe of Madam Secretary. I think he knows exactly why he did that. Okay? That's lacking a conscience. When you telegraph to the world that there are two types of justice, if you happen to be a Democrat and you have a private server with top secret and special access program intelligence where you're keeping information hidden from the rest of the world, and you even state, yeah, sure, I mean, the top secret intel and the SAP intel could have been infiltrated by other countries, but we just don't know. And we couldn't find intent. When you lie through your teeth in that manner, yeah, you lack a conscience. And everyone knows Comey was lying. He accused McCabe of lying. Andrew McCabe and Attorney General Loretta Lynch both accused Comey of lying about things. But you're talking about people who will stop at nothing to take down their political opponents. President Trump has personality flaws, no doubt. No doubt. But he's not a sociopath. Okay? Name me one person that he has framed and set up. To the contrary, they framed and set him up. Facebook ads never swung anything. So hit subscribe to this channel right this second. Get this segment viral. The Durham probe, if you look, Devin Nunes, Republicans eager for John Durham to indict Comey, FBI crew. Daniel Chayton, breaking news editor. This is about an hour ago in the evening. Republicans are hoping to see FBI Director James Comey's inner circle face indictments. And it goes on to talk about how the Durham probe special counsel is now focusing on James Comey. Now, let's just start. We don't need to start at the beginning. The beginning is when Comey stated that, there was no intent involved. So, I mean, that is absurd. Of course, Clinton which, I mean, the left doesn't care, Democrats don't care, but if President Trump had used private servers, that would not only be an impeachable offense, but that would have risked national security. He did not own servers for 4 years. Okay, Clinton did. And President Obama knew about this and lied also. If you had a running tally of all the lies told during President Obama's administration, it would far exceed Trump's 20,000 or whatever lies from the Washington Post, because if they utilize the standard by which they judge Trump, the standard by which they evaluate Trump with 4 Pinocchios and 2.5 Pinocchios, and we rule this partly true, President Obama already received emails from Cheryl Mills. Cheryl Mills stated President Obama already received emails from Clinton's private server, clintonemail.com. We already know from Politico and other publications, President Obama routinely communicated with Clinton. So he lied about not knowing. He actually said he learned from CNN, which is absurd. How do you learn that your Secretary of State for 4 years was running on servers outside of the United States government? That whole thing was a cover-up. Everybody knows this. There's not a person on this planet that doesn't know that. Or they either acknowledge this or they just don't care. But here, this is why Comey was fired. Okay? And this will actually eventually lead, hopefully, to his indictment. Memorandum for the Attorney General. From Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General. It was Rod Rosenstein that wrote the memo. So Rosenstein and Jeff Sessions then undermined Trump, but it was Rod Rosenstein who wrote the justification to fire Comey. Now, restoring public confidence in the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, this is a memo from Rosenstein explaining why advising President Trump, actually, to fire Comey. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has long been regarded as our nation's premier federal investigative agency. Over the past year, however, the FBI's reputation and credibility have suffered substantial damage, and it has affected the entire Department of Justice. That is deeply troubling to many department employees and veterans, legislators, and citizens. It's only gotten worse. Now the FBI and other intel agencies are basically tools of the Democratic Party. Or I shouldn't say that, but they're not completely autonomous. And they will always side with media and Democrats. And they won't really care about Republicans because Republicans don't speak with one voice. A great many Republicans are petrified of media. And they're frightened to say anything against people like Comey for fear of retribution. So here, the current FBI director is an articulate and persuasive speaker about leadership and the immaculate principles of the Department of Justice. He deserves our appreciation for his public service. As you and I have discussed, however, I cannot defend the director's handling of the conclusion of the investigation of Secretary Clinton's emails. This is Rod Rosenstein speaking, not Trump, and I do not understand his refusal to accept the nearly universal judgment that he was mistaken. Almost everyone agrees that the director made serious mistakes. It is one of the few issues that unites people of diverse perspectives. This is May 9th, 2017, from Rod J. Rosenstein, okay? And he's saying it is one of the few, almost everyone agrees the director made serious mistakes. And this is from the WashingtonPost.com. The director was wrong to usurp the Attorney General's authority on July 5th, 2016, and announced his conclusion that the case should be closed without prosecution. It was not his role to do so. He unilaterally decided to do so because the whole thing was a cover-up. He wanted the goods on Clinton, and he wanted the goods on Trump, which he had. He had the goods on both. He had a Steele dossier to set up and frame Trump, and he had all the dirty little secrets of Madam Secretary's server. So the guy had the keys to both castles. He had everything in his hand. I mean, the reason James Comey is a brilliant tactician, even though the guy is like a serpent. Like, basically, he was not only deceptive and manipulative, but he was brilliant in a nefarious way. He was able to shield himself from the Clintons and shield himself from President Trump. And he was able to do so by unilaterally acting for his own to save his own behind with the leverage that he has, with the leverage that he obtained against both Clinton and Trump. He was able to do so, and it was when I use the word brilliant, I'm talking about there's this insidious quality that is linked to extreme intelligence, there's no wisdom there. It's just he's a brilliant tactician, and he was able to navigate the political, hurricane. But here, the director was wrong to usurp the Attorney General's authority on July 5th, 2016, and announced his conclusion that the case should be closed without prosecution. It is not the function of the director to make such an announcement. At most, the director should have said the FBI had completed its investigation and presented its findings to federal prosecutors. The director now defends his assertion by asserting that he believed Attorney General Loretta Lynch had a conflict. But the FBI director is never empowered to supplant federal prosecutors and assume command of the Justice Department. There is a well-established process for the officials to step in when a conflict requires the recusal of the Attorney General. Notice that nobody wanted Attorney General Loretta Lynch recused. Democrats demand the recusal of their political adversaries, and they are horrified when anyone would suggest that they recuse themselves. On July 5th, however, the director announced his own conclusions about the nation's most sensitive criminal investigation without the authorization of duly appointed Justice Department leaders. Compounding the error, the director ignored another long-standing principle. We do not hold press conferences to release derogatory information about the subject of a declined criminal investigation. So then it goes on to talk about in response to skeptical questions at a congressional hearing, the director defended his remarks by saying that his goal was to say what is true, that we do what did we do, what did we find, what did we think about it. No, he wanted to jump ahead of any media circus and actually create a narrative, which he was able to do. He knew very well that most of media and millions upon millions of Democratic voters did not want Clinton indicted. So he was able to do that. When he was able to, become a hero. Then he single-handedly tanked her campaign when the cover-up. So anyone else would have been indicted. She had top-secret intelligence on servers outside of the United States government. Even Comey had to go and actually look into her mind and say, yeah, I know that there was no intent. He never did that with anyone. Like, the FBI doesn't do that. When they want to go after somebody, they do. And so this is Rod Rosenstein saying all of this. I'm giving my commentary, but this is Rod Rosenstein saying, yeah, you know what? He should never have done what he did. And what he did was self-serving, I should say. Completely self-serving. And then a week before the election in 2016, he wrote a Comey letter stating, oh yeah, we found classified intel on Anthony Weiner's laptop. Yet another reason Clinton should have been indicted. If you had Trump with classified data and top secret intelligence on servers that he was running, if Donald Trump had servers for 4 years that nobody knew of, every single liberal YouTuber, every single journalist at CNN and MSNBC, The Washington Post, The New York Times, every single Hollywood celebrity would say he was writing love letters to Putin, he was selling our nuclear launch codes, he was doing this and that. Could you imagine what Trump could have done with private servers where he could then hide his communication? No Freedom of Information Act requests allowed. And could you imagine if then President Trump said, I'm going to give you half of the emails and I'll delete the other half myself. And then I'll have my lawyers delete the emails. Okay, I talk about this on Amazon. By the way, I have a Twitter impersonator. I don't have a Twitter account, but Amazon knows who this Twitter impersonator is because they have his profile. He was illegally sharing my books on Amazon. But I explain this, but her top secret emails, but her deleted emails, if you want to look on Amazon. And I use Comey's words. Comey told the world what Clinton did. And then he set up and framed Trump with Trump Russia. So he wrote the Clinton email, the Comey letter, which tanked Madam Secretary's campaign. And then he spent 4 years pushing the narrative that Trump could have worked with Russia, that he didn't know what the Steele dossier was about. In fact, he bragged about it being an unclassified document. They utilized an unclassified document purchased by Clinton and Democrats to investigate Trump. Then they call Trump the sociopath. You can't have a conscience when you put this country through what Comey and others put this country through. Now, President Trump, his personality is, a bulldozer, a sledgehammer. He's always, when somebody tries to go after him, he hits back 2 times as hard. That didn't work in the long run. Comey had media, Trump did not. Comey could get away with, McCabe, Strzok, Clapper, they could get away with everything because they had media and they had people who, if Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them had sided with Trump, they would be villains. They would be viewed, the public relations spin would be the opposite of what we've seen. But see, the Durham probe is a special counsel. Now they can, again, I get nothing's ever going to happen, but if we have a different Republican Party, then you will see indictments eventually. And it's already being talked about. It's still been talked. It's still focused upon by Devin Nunes and others. Rod Rosenstein is the person. Who told Trump to fire Comey. He wrote the memo to fire Comey. My perspective on these issues is shared by former attorney generals and deputy attorney generals. And then he goes on to talk about how everyone agrees with him that Comey should be fired. Although the president has the power to remove an FBI director, the decision should not be taken lightly. I agree with the nearly unanimous opinions of former department officials. Agree with the way the director Comey handled the conclusions of the email investigation was wrong. As a result, the FBI is unlikely to regain public and congressional trust until it has a director who understands the gravity of the mistakes and pledges never to repeat them. Having refused to admit his errors, the director cannot be expected to implement the necessary corrective actions. So there you go. Trump came in and tore apart the norms and traditions upholding a very corrupt system. He said, I'm going to fire you. And he did. And then everyone turned on him, even though it was, the justification for the special counsel was Comey's memos that he wrote. He was a scorned government employee. Okay? Could you imagine if Biden fires somebody and then they write memos and then those memos are used by Republicans to investigate Biden? That would never happen. Once you have 2022 and then 2024, you have primaries in 2022 where Trump Republicans take over the Republican Party. It's game over. You'll have a Republican Party that does away with the Ben Sasse, Mitt Romney, Jeff Sessions, Paul Ryan mentality, Lisa Murkowski, of just actually siding with Democrats on every major issue. It'll take time, but this is actually a special counsel, like I said, that's looking into Comey right as we speak. And McCabe and Clapper and Brennan, John Durham is looking into those people. It is a special counsel. And it's like, okay, the worst feeling to have is to be overconfident. Or I should say, it's never good to have a special counsel looming over you and to just think that you're in the clear. Everybody knows what they did. Like you had Strzok saying, we'll stop Trump. You had McCabe sending people just to entrap Flynn. And simply, if people want to refute this, they say, well, the IG didn't have all the information. The IG, Horowitz never had all the information. A lot of information was obtained after the Horowitz report. So you had, phones being wiped miraculously. I mean, all of these things. Everybody knows, even Democrats, they just don't care. Notice how I've listened to some hilarious liberal, I don't even know if they're progressive, but liberal channels, 1 million subs or, around there. And they're just any scandal Democrats have. It's like, I at least can say that President Trump should have created a national dialogue. I can critique the president in a rational manner. But they can't, they're incapable of utilizing the same condemnation that they've leveled against Trump upon themselves because they're hypocrites. Give me your thoughts below. At the end of the day, he lied through his teeth. He did commit illegal acts. And that's one of the reasons he was fired. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right this second. Thank you so very, very much.